What is up, guys? Clayton here with another C++ tutorial. Last few videos we went over, storing numbers and integers. We did, we used some variables, we did some inputs, some outputs, and lastly we did some if-then statements. So we're going to kind of build a program that is going to incorporate all the things that we learned in the last few videos. It's going to be great practice. So let's go ahead and get started. If you haven't already, go ahead, get some coffee. It's probably going to be a longer video. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a cash register program, and the reason why I kind of chose this is because it's going to do a really good job of hitting all those points and all those skills that we learned to help really reinforce it. And it's also because everyone's familiar with how a cash register works, right? You buy something, the cash register takes that initial price of this item, and you're going to give, let's say it's $15, you give it 20, and then that program is going to do the math of how much change you get back. So that's pretty much the basic concept of the cash register program. However, we're going to throw in some if-then statements. So we can say if the person, let's say we have an item that's $20 and the customer only gives us $10, we want an if-then statement to say, hey, you only gave us this amount, we need, so you only gave us X amount, we need Y amount. So it'll calculate the difference for pretty much everything that we're going to do. So once again, guys, get comfortable. Get your coffee, get your tea, get whatever. It's going to be a long video, but I think it's going to be really fun, and I think when you're done, you're going to have something that you'll be proud of. And the great thing about this kind of programming challenge is you can tweak it and make it your own and make the program do, you can make it calculate in a different way. So I encourage you to try that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Here is our program from the last video. We're going to go ahead and delete all of it, and then we're going to make sure we keep this in there because we need that. So the first thing we're going to do is when you get an item, let's think about this logically. You're at Best Buy, you're getting a sweet new computer or a new graphics card. You're going to hand them let's say it's getting a new graphics card, you're getting a 1080, right? You're stoked. You hand the Best Buy employee the GTX 1080, and the first thing they do is they scan it. Let's think about what that does, right? It scans the barcode and it tells the computer how much that item is. So that's going to be our first input. That's going to be our first variable. So we're going to hit int, and we'll do item price. So that's going to be the thing that we collect first. And then after that, at Best Buy, I would say, the next thing they do is, ask for the money, but they don't. They ask for that stupid credit card, or you're a rewards member, but I don't know. You can program into that program. You can write the code for that if you want and prompt the user. That would be good practice. So the next thing, we're going to assume Best Buy doesn't bother you with all that shit, and then we're going to get the money from them, right? So we can and that's obviously going to be an integer, and we are going to do, let's call it payment. And one thing for someone who's a little bit more experienced, and they're saying, why are you using integers? Why aren't you using floats? Because most people are really new to programming, and we're not going to worry about decimal points. So if you are storing decimal points, you're going to use a different variable. However, we're going to cover that next video because I just want to, I think we'll get the logic down in this program. Next video, we're going to go and change those. to the proper variables. Okay, so we have an item price and we have a payment. So now we need, well, let's go ahead and start building the program. This is kind of a good way to, instead of having, I mean, ideally you want everything worked out ahead of time, but let's go ahead and build the program and kind of start getting the main frame of it, and then we can kind of see what we're going to need as we go along. I think that's going to be a really good way to learn. So let's go ahead and prompt the user to enter the payment. But first we need to do, I'm sorry, no, I skipped a step. So we need to tell the program what the item price is. So this is going to go to the Best Buy employee. So we can see out enter item price, like that, and then we can go ahead and see in. Remember, we're going to put our variable down here, and this will allow us to grab the input. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and see out item price to make sure everything is working. Just like that. Build and run. So I don't know how much a 1080 is. I think they're around 649 bucks. So we'll just average it out to 650. Okay, so it's reading, storing everything right. And don't worry if you have this, it just means it's unused because we haven't done anything with it yet. Okay, so that's working. Okay, so we have that. Actually, yeah, okay, so now we can do see out enter customer payment. We can go that, and then we'll see in and grab their payment. Just like that. And keep in mind there's a number of different ways to write this program, so maybe if you come up with a different way, feel free to try that. I'm just trying to keep it very easy and very basic, so it might not be the best way, but it's the most straightforward way. Okay, so let's think about what we have here. So we can scan the item to get a total price, and we're not going to do tax because that would just make the program a little bit more complicated. So, and then we receive the payment. So we have these two things, but if we notice, I mean, programs, if the customer enters $1 for a 1080, well, the program's going to say, hey, there you go, it's going to complete and everything is good. And well, that's not good. Best Buy would be, they'd be out of business pretty quick if that was the case. So we want to check the customer's payment. We want to check that to the item's price. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an if-then statement. We're probably going to use a few of them because, it's practice, and I'm sure we can do it with one, but let's go ahead and create our first if-then statement. So how about we do if if payment is less than item price and not equal to, that's really important, because if you do less than or equal to, we're going to have an error, because if they give us the exact money, it'll still enter this if-then statement saying they don't have enough money. So we got to make sure we just put less than. Okay, so we can go ahead and do our brackets, and then we can see out not enough money. Just like that. And then we're going to kind of get all these if-then statements created and make sure they're entering the loop, entering the statement with, every time. And then we have all that kind of main outline. We're going to actually go in and create some formulas to calculate how much change the Best Buy employee has, or how much more the customer needs to get. So keep that in mind. Okay, so there's our first one. The next one is if payment is equal to, not 1, because not 1 equal sign, remember we need 2 because 2 is comparing payment to item price. If we did 1 equal sign, we're assigning payment to item price, so that will really mess up the program. So if it's equal to the item price, meaning they paid the exact amount, see out thank you for shopping with us, something like that. Okay, so the nice thing about this one is there's no formula we need because they're paying the exact amount, so there's not much to do with this statement. So this one's actually done. Okay, so now on to our last statement. So if payment is greater than item price, which is probably the most common way of paying for something, is you get change back. We're going to see out payment is too much. And we're going to change these at the end because I don't think a cash register does that. I think it just outputs how much change you're going to give back. So we'll make sure we do that. So we have all our statements, and what we're going to do is we're going to check every single one. So let's go ahead and build and run. So the first one we're going to do not enough. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to enter the item price, and that is going to be $650. And then we're going to enter the payment, how much the customer is going to give us. So we're going to check this first if-then statement. So we're going to do less than. So we're going to do $5. Not enough money. Okay, good. So that's working. So let's go ahead and run it again. And we're going to do equal to. So $650 is how much the graphics card costs. The customer gives us exactly that amount. Thank you for shopping with us. Okay. And then we're going to do change. So the customer is going to get change back. So let's enter. We're going to enter this one. So $650. And then we're going to say $700. Payment is too much. Okay, so everything is working as it should. So now kind of comes into the more difficult part. But the nice thing is we have a lot of the program completed, so we don't have to focus on the layout and everything. We know it's going to enter our statements, so the only thing we have to focus on is just the math. So it's kind of nice. If you're ever confused, just work out the program as much as you can, get as much done as you can, and then sometimes it's easier to, once you have your code on your screen, it's easier to take a step back and kind of, okay, where do I need to change things, rather than trying to do that when you first start the program, because it can be a little intimidating. Okay, so we are going to, I'm going to put a note right here saying completed. I'll just say done. And then this one is if they don't give us enough money. Okay, so we need a formula to kind of calculate how much they gave us, and then we need to compare that to the item price, and then we're going to output how much money is left that they need to pay. So a real simple way to do that is take the item price and minus it, or subtract payment from the item price, and that'll give us what's left over. But what we're going to do is we are going to, actually no, I was going to create another variable to store that, to store the output in, but we'll see if we need that later. So what we're going to do is we're going to output the entire line. So that's one thing we can do, is we can actually output math. And you'll see, I'm not sure if I covered that in the first video. I think I stored it in a sum, but you don't have to. So we're going to take the item price minus payment. And, oops, I forgot something. So this is going to output how much is left over that the customer needs to pay. So build and run. We're going to go ahead and test that. So the item price is $650. They give us, let's say they only give us 60. And there it is. So 50 is how much is left over that they need to pay. So we can actually probably delete this because that cash registers don't really do that. That would be insulting to the customer. Okay. So we have, $50. So we have that working. So we're going to go on to this one. And we can probably delete that. So it's kind of the same idea, right? So this is if they give us too much money, we can do payment minus the item price. So it's just going to be the opposite of this one. So we can go ahead and see out payment minus item price. And let's go ahead and check it. Build and run. So $650 is how much the graphics card costs. They give us 700, and once again it's 50. So that is how much change we have to give back. Okay, so technically we could be done and it would get the idea. The cash register would work. So if we think about this, it would just output this as, $50, that's how much you get back. But another way we can do it, we can check it. We can check so once we give the, well, actually this one we don't need to check. Because if they give us more money, we just need to output, we just have to give them change. However, this one, we want to check it. So let's say the item price is $650 and they give us, $600. And then we output, no, we need $50 more or whatever. And let's say they give us just another 25. Well, the program would take that 25 and it would do nothing. It would say, okay, you're done. Well, that's not right. There's still another $25 short. So with the first if-then statement, we need to constantly check it to the total item price so that we get the full amount of money for the graphics card. So before we do that, we can actually go ahead and complete this one. So what we can do is let's do another cout statement, and we can just do cout change like that. Oops. So this one's done, so it'll just output the change that the customer gets. Okay, so this one we're gonna have to do a little bit more thinking, and like I said, I warned you, it's probably a longer video, but that's okay. Okay, so there's a lot of ways we can create this first if-then statement. I'm going to do it the long way. I'm going to using the most code, I guess, which isn't, I don't want to say that's bad practice, but I mean, you kind of want to make things simple. However, when writing code, making things simple is actually really difficult. It's easy to make things more complicated than they need to be. And I'm going to kind of do that on purpose because we're going to get a lot of practice and it's going to be easy to see what the program is doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another variable. And it's going to be an integer, and we're going to call it, we'll just do add payment. And this is just additional payment abbreviation. You can call this whatever you want. You can call it additional payment or, you know, leftover payment or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to not output this. We're going to actually assign this, the sum of these two, to our new variable. So we can do add payment or additional payment, and we're going to assign it to this. Yeah, so, and then we need to check once we get the number, we got to check that to the item price. So what we're going to do is we need to output, you know, how much they need to enter. So we can see out, please enter, or no, sorry, please pay that, and then we can actually output add payment on the same line as this by just doing a few more zeros. Add payment, and there we go. So it'll say, so the resulting of, you know, the difference is going to be stored into add payment, and then we're going to prompt the user to please pay, you know, whatever is stored in add payment. So let's go ahead and see how that looks. I know it can kind of get confusing, but I think once we run it, you'll kind of see what's happening. So I'm going to go slow because it's going to get a little bit more complicated in a bit. So enter price, we're right here, and it's waiting to get this value. So $650. Okay, and then the customer is going to give us, let's do $500. So please pay $150. So that's this line right here. You can kind of see how the code looks compared to the actual output, just like that. Now I know it seems silly to make a program like this because, I mean, I don't know, maybe some customers can't do math, or the Best Buy employee can't do math, and they just keep giving, you know, the wrong amount of money for the item. But you know what, it's practicing programming, so just keep that in mind. Don't write angry comments in the comment section. No, we're just practicing. It's a make-believe program. Okay, so now we need to compare how much is left to the payment and to the item price. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make, and I think this is really good practice on if-then statements, because we're actually going to make another if-then statement, but we're going to make it inside our first if-then statement. So you can do an infinite number of if-then statements inside of if-then statements, like, you know, a big box inside of another box inside of another box. Pretty complicated way of doing things, not really practical, but really, really good practice to make sure you understand them. So let's go ahead and say if add payment is oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, we need to get more money from them. So we got to get payment. But before we do that, we need to initialize payment, because right now payment is equal to $500. So it's going to be really hard to compare that to the item price. So we need to actually reset payment to 0, because we're not comparing it to $650 anymore. We're going to compare it to $150 or however much is left over. So let's go ahead and go inside our loop, and let's make payment equals to 0. So we're going to reset the payment, because we're going to take more money from them. And once again, I'm going to explain it just another time really quick. The reason why we're setting it to 0 is because let's say they give us $150. It's going to be, well, I guess it would work. We're just going to do it this way, so bear with me. And then we're going to CN payment, just like that. And then if payment is equal to add additional payment, we can see out thank you for shopping with us. Okay, so let's go ahead and walk through this, because I know it kind of got a little complicated there. So we know how we enter this first statement. It's if they don't pay enough, and it's going to output how much they need to pay, and that's this line right here. Okay, so we outputted how much they need to pay, and then we're going to reset payment. We're going to take the payment, and then we're going to compare if their payment is equal to this, and then if it is, it's done. If it's not, then you can keep redoing the steps. And like I said, I know it's really impractical. I mean, who goes to Best Buy and just keeps handing the wrong amount of money? But it's, like I said, it's really good programming practice. We can keep creating so many if-then statements. And I mean, they don't need to be this complicated. However, if you understand it, then when you move into more complicated programs, it's going to come easier, because you've done it such a impractical way. So let's go ahead and run this program, and then we're going to walk through all the steps. So $650 is how much the card cost. Let's say they enter $450. So please pay $200, and then we'll change that $200, and then thank you for shopping with us. So let's go ahead and do an inline right here. And then we'll see how that looks. Make it a little bit easier to read. So $650, they give us $500, please pay $150, we enter $150, and it's done. So there we go. Now, an interesting thing to note is what happens if they don't enter enough money the second time. Well, let's find out. So $650, let's say they give us $444, and they need to pay $206. Now let's say they only do 100. Nothing happens, because the program just closes out because it doesn't know what to do. And that's where you can make, the programmer can make another if-then statement, and you would have to keep making those. And now I know you're probably thinking like, wow, that's insane. I mean, you can make an infinite number of if-then statements and you'll never exit the program, and that is 100% true. And that's what I'm saying. This is a very impractical way of doing it, and probably next video or the video after, we're going to introduce loops. Loops are going to pretty much take all this code and make it, and you're going to use far less code. Loops automatically check over and over and over again until a certain condition is met. But if you practice this tutorial and you understand how all these if-then statements work, and you understand the variables and comparing it in math, like that is awesome. That is the whole point of this video. And then when we introduce loops, you're going to be like, oh, this is so much better. Like, this makes so much more sense. And it's going to come to you immediately because you've done it the really difficult way. So I think I'm going to leave it here. I think you get the idea of the program. But like I said, most people don't give not enough money. But the program does, it does work. And if they've given them the wrong amount of money a second time and it's still not enough, then we're going to have problems. But you don't need to worry about that. If you want, you can put another if-then statement, but you're never going to figure it out. We need a different tool to do that for us. So everything is done. Everything is working. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. And like I said, either next video or the video after, this is all going to make so much more sense. It's, you're gonna love loops. So that's it for today, guys. Hopefully this video isn't too long. Please like and subscribe. And like I said in my other videos, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I wouldn't even mind making an additional video just for you, especially if it's a question that's asked a lot and I can help explain it. So thanks, guys, and until next time.